Occupy Wall Street. What is it that runs a modern society? The answer to this question is undisputable: money. Money touches every aspect of the life of contemporary society. It shapes relationships, transforms lives, and leads to conflict among many others in the current world. There are increasing numbers of protests witnessed in the United States due to economic issues. One of the landmark protests is the Occupy Wall Street, a left-wing protest that started September 2011. The movement was caused by some fundamental issues in the society, including corruption, greed, economic inequality, and the undue influence of corporations of the government. The Occupy Wall Street protest can be traced to 2011, when the left-wing demonstration against the executive capitalism by the Canadian anti-consumerists started in the social media platform. The actual protests were signaled with tweets and posts that fluttered in the Facebook and Twitter platforms. The all-flutter posts and tweets in the Facebook and Twitter signaled that this was a leaderless protest that aimed at eliminating the corruption and greed that was being facilitated by the wealthy 1%. The Occupy Wall Street protests were necessitated by the authorities replicating institutional structures that were creating a window for the rich to become richer and the poor to become poorer. Therefore, the protests were similar to the all-globalization feminist movement that took place in the 60s and 70s. The call for the protest was initiated by the pro-environmental group and the Canadian anti-consumerist. The movement's slogan is, "We are the 99%. That refers to the huge wealth inequality between the wealthiest groups that comprise only 1% of the total American population and the rest who fall among the 99%. In the last 4 decades, the level of equality has been on the rise in the United States. Therefore, it is not outstanding to see the rise of the group that advocates for redistribution. High levels of the inequalities have tremendously impact on the society. It places the power in the hands of a few who may use it wrong way to further their own needs and to forget about the majority. Economic inequality exacerbates the conditions that constrains the efforts of the poor to emerge from poverty. The main goal for the movement was to minimize the influence of corporations on politics and minimizing economic inequalities through balanced income distribution, creations of more and better jobs, relief for the in-debt students, including the waivers of student loans, and bank reforms. The movement brought together the youth and middle-aged individuals, especially from the low and middle-income communities. Hence, the Occupy Wall Street movement is for a good reason. Therefore, be supported and carried out in the right manner. While the movement was setting up in its goal, it was split into two groups, with one group creating a document titled the 99% Declaration, and another group opposing it significantly. The group opposing the declaration document indicated that setting demands could limit the space that the movement had in achieving its goal. Occupy media is seen as the movement's best strategy. The activists were able to occupy the media service and use them to disseminate information regarding the movement. Pamphlets, journals, magazines, and graphical printouts were the main tenets of the Occupy media strategies and were successful in their cause. However, the movement had its own set of criticism. The movement was criticized for not having clear goals that could have promoted economic policy change. Moreover, the protests were criticized for lacking the actual minority that they were representing, despite their slogan being, "We are 99%. The protests were overwhelming, which led to the minority's representation being questioned. The protests also targeted the wrong audience. which led to the movement finally achieving its cause. Finally, the protests were criticized for failing to continue the support base, which led to the movement fading out as quickly as it was formed. However, the movement became vibrant again when, during the 2016 presidential campaign, it was supported by various presidential candidates, among them Clinton, Sanders, Cruz, and Rubio. The protege's energy was renewed when Clinton, during a campaign in Iowa, she deceivably lamented that the deck is still stacked in favor of those at the top, according to Levitin 2015. The 2016 presidential campaign saw the movement regrow again 4 years after it started taking shape on online platforms. Although the movement has been thought to be dead, it gained a prestigious rise when these aspirants decided to use the protests as a campaign tool.